Hey, so before we get into today's video, we just crossed 1,000 subscribers. Pretty big deal to us.
Yeah. So we decided this Terra and Devlin box right here is going to go away to one of our subscribers.
So the deal is, on any of the Raveners series that's coming out, the deep dive, the how to beat, or the short lore video, you have to be a subscriber, have liked one of those videos, and then left a comment on that video as well.
And then when we do our live stream for the Exodites, we'll announce the winner.
Yep. So when the Exodites come out, we're going to do an all-day live stream going through the box, building the kit, and somewhere in there we're going to announce one of the winners based on those comments and likes. So stay tuned and good luck.
Yep.
Hey everyone, I'm Doc.
I'm John.
Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going underground with one of the most thematic and murderous kill teams that Games Workshop has released in the Kill Team game. Today we're going over the Raveners.
There you are playing your opponent. They've got a pretty nice gun line and they're feeling safe, but then suddenly you pop your 20 wound murder bug out from underneath the ground and start eating away at all those squishy humans. That is what Raveners dream of.
These have a feel kind of like a backline xenomorph, where they're popping up underneath you, spitting acid. They're hyper-adapted Tyranid Vanguard predators. The Raveners dig tunnels, they vanish, they pop up and get you where you least expect it. And then they stack poison tokens on top of it all that punish you as the game continues.
If you're brand new to Kill Team or just thinking about picking up a box of Raveners, this video is for you. We're going to break them down. We're going to teach you how the mechanics for tunneling works. Simple, but has some nuance to it. Every opponent and what the operatives do. Rules, ploys, and equipment. Strengths and weakness, and real play styles so you don't just feed your bugs into a meat grinder. By the end, you'll know exactly how to start playing and not feel completely lost with them. So let's dig in.
Pun intended. So the Raveners Kill Team is kind of like somebody at Games Workshop was sitting around one afternoon watching the movie Tremors and had the bright idea of, yeah, that's exactly what we need in this game.
In Kill Team, they've been given the full specialist treatment. Think of them as the Tyranid Special Forces, who decided stealth and terror were more effective when you're coming out from underneath your opponent's feet. Which, to be honest, that 7-foot bug jumping out of the ground
scare the crap out of anybody. This is an elite team. There's only 5 operatives in total. Think of them as the Tyranid Special Forces. They're hyper-adaptive and sent in by the hive mind to perform a specific task. The fantasy is perfect. You're the horror movie monster sitting there waiting underneath the bed for a space marine to stick his leg out from underneath the covers. It's psychological warfare with extra steps.
Alright, let's talk rules. The team lives and dies by 3 big things: tunnel, burrow, and predatory instincts. We'll start with the tunnel. The tunnel, you start by setting that up during operative setup. At the end of setup, you place your tunnel marker, 0, wholly within your drop zone, touching the edge of the board. Then, as a strategic gambit, in turning points 1 through 4, you can place the next numbering marker within 5 inches of the previous one. After 4 turns, you can have up to 5 markers on the table, 0 through 4. The tunnel is the area between the markers. So the tunnel is actually between the 2 markers and the markers themselves. So it's the full width of the marker from one to the next.
So an important thing to bear in mind with these tunnels, it starts slow. In turning point 1, you're starting off with your 0 mark and then your first mark. So it's a team that takes a little while to get building, but once you get those tunnels out there, you can reach most of the board by turning point 4 and pop up in places that your enemy really didn't count on.
Next is burrow. So if you're underground, you can spend 1 AP to pop up anywhere along your tunnel. You lose 2 inches, but you get potentially a lot more movement, as it can be anywhere along the tunnel.
Something to keep in mind with Burrow: if you're on your tunnel in the kill zone, you can spend 1 AP to go back underground. It also costs you 1 AP to pop up out of the tunnel, but you can move anywhere between the 2 points, or by turning point 4, 0 through 4, and it costs you nothing to move along that tunnel. It gives you a lot of movement with no movement costs other than the 2 inches as you come out.
And also note, Burrow isn't actually part of movement, so you can still charge out of it.
Yeah, and there's some ploys that we'll get into later that actually assist in this. The game really starts feeling like an Alien movie by the end of everything. You're popping out and grabbing people and going back in the tunnel. So the last rule we have to talk about with the Raveners is predatory instincts. So with predatory instincts, there's a couple of bullet points. The first one is it allows any of the Raveners to perform 2 fight actions in a single activation.
A little scary.
Also, every friendly Ravener can counteract regardless of their order. Astartes much?
When counteracting, you can change your order first or instead of doing an action. As long as you don't do a mission action on your counteract, you can burrow for free. This is insanely good as it gives you bugs some great flexibility. They can pop up, fight twice, and then pop back in dirt, or stay up there and hold a point, pop up, shoot. It really emphasizes good order management. It makes your opponent not quite sure what's going to happen next, and life a little bit miserable.
Yeah. And then finally, there's a setup rule that's specialized to the Raveners where your first 2 models must be set up on the board. Everything else can be set up down in the tunnel at the game start. Something to keep in mind, the underground models, the first action, they can only burrow until they come up out of the ground. So having covered the team's rules, next we're going to go over the operative selection. This team's super easy. You've got 5 models, and the core choices are Wrecker, Felltalon, Prime, Venomspitter, and the Tremorscythe. Don't know how I forgot that. It's the classic 5. You can take a warrior if you want to, but again, I would really advise against it. It's not worth it.
Next, we'll be going over the general rules for the operative data cards. All operatives are 3 APLs, they have a 7-inch move, and a 5-up save. Except for the Wrecker, he's a very special little boy. And roughly 20 wounds. They're fast and chunky, but not invincible. Let's break down their abilities and importance so you know what you're doing.
With the operative selection and the rules out of the way, let's talk about each of the models. First up, we're going to go over the Ravener Prime. This is your leader, and you're required to take him. The entire team also has, at bare minimum, a minor ranged attack. It's mostly focused on melee, but they all have some kind of tail weapon. So in this case, the Ravener Prime has a tail blade. So it's got a 3-inch range, rending with silent. Pretty decent, except for the 3-inch range. 4 attacks, 3s to hit, and 3/4 damage. Again, their ranged attacks, aside from the Venomspitter, are nothing really to write home about, but it's nice they've got a little something that allows them to come up out of the tunnel and do some damage before you charge in, or soften up an enemy before you go in for the melee kill. The Ravener Prime has a pretty decent melee profile, with Scything Talons and Rending Claws. It's 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4/5 damage with Rending. But he really shines as your leader with his abilities that add to the team. Your leader has the Neuropredatory Crest, which basically means he's your icon bearer. You get to treat other enemies as if their APL stat is 1 lower. Again, doesn't affect the actual APL of the model, but it's just for contesting objectives. Also, your opponent must spend 1 additional AP for him to perform the Pickup Marker mission action. Your opponent also can't reroll their attack or defense dice if they're within 3 inches, so he's a good model to move around and prevent high reroll teams from doing their shenanigans. The Ravener Prime also has the Synaptic Link, which is a strategic gambit, so as long as he's not incapacitated, you roll a d6 and compare the result to the number of the current turning point. If the result is twice as high or higher, you gain 1 CP. Less, inflict damage on the operative equal to this result. Any other result, nothing happens. This used to be a little better. It's decent. Still worth rolling and trying to farm some CP, but they did nerf it a little bit where you have to be twice as high or higher in order to gain the CP, which is unfortunate. After the Prime, we've got the Ravener Felltalon. 3 APL, 7-inch move, 5-up saves, 20 wounds, pretty standard. He's got the 3-inch ranged attack just like the other models. It's silent, pincer tail attack. But where he differentiates himself is his toxic glands. It's a 6-inch silent ranged attack with poison, and his toxic sides, his melee profile, which is pretty solid, lethal 5-ups, shock, and it also dishes out poison. So with the poison, in the resolve attack dice step, if you land any of your critical successes, the enemy operative gets one of your poison tokens as long as it doesn't already have one. Whenever that operative activates, you inflict D3 damage on it. It's pretty nice to pop up, dish out some damage. The poison tokens also come into effect with his 1 AP ability Toxic Lunge. Select one enemy operative within 2 inches of the Felltalon. Alternatively, if he's underground, you can select an enemy operative anywhere on your tunnel. You spend an AP, you do D3 plus 2 damage on the enemy operative, and it gets one of your poison tokens. The Felltalon can do this ability while he's underground, regardless of the burrow rules, which is pretty cool. This guy's good at popping up or grabbing somebody from underground, dishing out some damage, handing out some poison tokens, and then dipping out of the fight. Next up, we have the Ravener Tremorscythe. Again, 3 APL, 7-inch move, 5-up save, 20 wounds. They're pretty much all the same with minor differences. He's got the standard pincer tail attack, 3-inch ranged attack, giving him something. It's better than nothing. And then he's got scything talons and rending claws, kind of like the Prime does. It's got rending, 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5 damage. Pretty decent melee profile. The Tremorscythe shines with his Hypersensory Hunter, so he gets to perform a charge action in Conceal as long as he's done the burrow during the same activation or counter action. So if he's popped up out of the ground, he can charge in, remain concealed, and fight, fight, fight. The Tremorscythe also has an ability called Subterranean Ambush, which means that if an enemy operative moves more than 2 inches and ends within 2 inches of your tunnel, if the Tremorscythe is down underground and he can be activated or hasn't counteracted during this turning point, you get to interrupt that enemy operative's activation or counteraction to use this rule. If you do, activate or counteract as appropriate, but during the activation counteract, it must fight or shoot against the enemy operative within 2 inches of your tunnel. And it can't do so against any other enemy operatives until it does. Ideally, he's coming out to fight or kill somebody that was dumb enough to end right on top of your tunnel, and then you've still got some APL to do something with and take someone else out. After completing the operative's activation counteraction, the Tremorscythe's activation counteraction that is, the enemy operative gets to continue their activation or counteraction if it's still alive. Hopefully not. Now let's move on to the only Ravener with any kind of serious threatening ranged attack, the Venomspitter. 3 APL, 7-inch move, 5-up saves, 20 wounds, you know the deal by now. He's got the standard pincer tail, 3-inch silent attack, we'll move on from there. And then he's got 2 different ranged profiles. He's got Venom Bolt Blast, which is 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 3-5 damage. It's got an 8-inch range and a 2-inch blast radius. Also hands out those poison tokens, just like the Felltalon does. But rather than the blast profile, you can also use the focused version. The only difference being the normal hits deal 4 damage instead of 3, and it's got piercing 1 instead of blast 2. He's got scything talons as a melee profile, 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5 damage. Nothing really special there. But he does have a 1 AP ability called Distend Dorsal Sac. Until the operative has shot with its Venom Bolt, until it performs the action again, or until it performs Burrow, whichever comes first, all profiles of its Venom Bolt have the lethal 5-up weapons rule, have 1 added to their attack stat, and the range 8-inch weapon rule removed. In an ideal world, this guy's coming up out of the ground, spending an AP to distend the dorsal sac, shooting across the board with either the blast or focused profile, and then on his counteract he gets to dip out back down in the tunnel. You can do this a couple of times. It's super effective, really good at getting poison tokens on the board, and he's going to be your main ranged threat, so use him accordingly. Second to last is the Ravener Wrecker. 3 APL, 7-inch move, saving on 4s this time, with 20 wounds. He does have a ranged profile, which is again a 3-inch silent ranged attack called Bone Mace. Standard profile, 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 3-4 damage, but it does get piercing 1, which is pretty useful. The Wrecker is also your quasi-melee champion, and I hesitate to say champion because the whole team is pretty good at melee, but he definitely stands out above the rest, and he likes to go in and clean house. He's got the Scything Talons and Crushing Claws, 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5 damage with Crush, which we'll get into in a second. Before we do, he's got the Reinforced Carapace, so normal and critical damage of 4 or more inflicts 1 less damage on him. Pretty handy, helps keep him alive. Now let's go over his Crush keyword. Whenever you strike, you and your opponent roll off, adding 1 to your result if the operative this weapon is being used against has a wound stat of 9 or less. If you win, inflict additional damage on that operative equal to the difference between the dice results to a maximum of 3 additional damage. It's pretty helpful, and again, he likes to wreck house. See what I did there? And he's definitely somebody you're going to want to get into melee battle, especially against horde armies, because that wound stat of 9 or less does tip the scales in your favor. You're dishing out additional damage on top of his already pretty decent melee profile. And lastly, we have the Ravener Warrior. Standard stat line, not even going to go into it at this point. He's got the Pincer Tail, again standard stat line, 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 3-4 damage, 3-inch range with Silent. And then he's got Scything Talons. 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5 damage, nothing special, it's still a decent melee profile. The Warrior does have Instinctive Behavior. Whenever this operative is shooting against fighting or retaliating against a wounded enemy operative, or an enemy operative that performed fallback action during this point, his weapons get the lethal 5-up rule. I don't know why you would bring him. Maybe somebody can leave a comment down below advising me as to the merits of the Ravener Warrior, but to me, it seems like somebody that should just stay home and take the 5 unique models. Works out best when I've played them. So now that we've covered the core 5 and the Warrior, next we're going to go into the Ploys. We'll run into the strategy Ploys for the team as well as the firefight Ploys so that you know what you can do to buff and build your team going into each turning point. Starting with Death from Below. Whenever a Ravener operative is fighting, if it's performed the burrow action during your activation or counteraction, it gets the balanced weapon rule on all of its melee weapons. Or, if it's on your tunnel, its melee weapons then have the ceaseless weapon rule. This team lives and dies on the tunnel. It is something to keep in mind. Most of these ploys come into play with that, and we'll move on to the next one. Next up, we have Whipcord Emergence. So whenever an enemy operative is shooting one of the Raveners, if that friendly operative has performed Burrow during that turning point, you get to reroll one of your defense dice. If that friendly operative is on your tunnel, you can reroll any of your defense dice. Tunnel makes happy. The Ravener's third strategy ploy is Writhe Out Of Sight. So you get to select a friendly Ravener. If it's in the kill zone and on your tunnel, it gets to perform a free burrow action. If it's within 2 inches of your tunnel, it can also immediately perform a fallback or reposition before it does so. This is extremely useful when you're trying to maximize your damage output or APL expenditure, and you've left somebody out on the field knowing that you need to get them down in the tunnel before the next turn starts. Keep this in mind as you plan out your end of turn, beginning of turn transfer so that you can get people where you need to be, and it's a ploy that I utilize often. The Ravener's final strategy ploy is Tunnel Lurkers. You're basically getting to treat your Ravener as if it's in light cover anytime it's on the tunnel, and as long as there's no one within 2 inches of it. It's useful in some circumstances, not everyone, but good to have in the back pocket if you need to minimize some damage input coming into you. Now we're going to go over the Ravener's firefight ploys, starting with Slithering Evasion. So you get to use this during an activation or counteraction before or after your Ravener performs an action. So during that, you get to perform the fallback action for 1 less AP, or, and this is a lot of fun, perform the charge action while within control range of an enemy operative. You get to leave that control range to do so with no additional movement, still within normal movement requirements. This can be a lot of fun to use when your opponent thinks that they have one of your Raveners on the ropes, and all of a sudden, nope, I'm leaving and charging into somebody else to beat the crap out of them. You have a lot of flexibility here, and something that is not always useful, but a lot of fun when it is. The next firefight ploy we're going to go over is Subterranean Horror, and boy is it aptly named. Whenever your enemy thinks that they're being brilliant, they charge in to attack one of your Raveners that's sitting on top of the tunnel, and they're performing a fight action against you, you get to use this ploy and resolve one of your attack dice before they do. I've had plenty of opponents forget that this exists, they charge in, and boy is that ever a mistake. Now let's talk about Burrowing Strike. So you get to use this firefight ploy whenever a Ravener performs the burrow action, either going underground or popping up out of the tunnel. When you do, you inflict D3 plus 1 damage on each enemy operative within its control range. You're rolling separately for each accordingly. You can't use this ploy in the strategy phase or during a Felltalon operative's activation or counteraction if it's performed the Toxic Lunge action, which makes sense. It'd be pretty ridiculous if you could pair these together. What I do want to point out is that Burrowing Strike couples very nicely with Slithering Evasion. It gives you an opportunity to pop up out of the tunnel into a couple of enemies' control ranges, do D3 plus 1 damage, and then, hey, evade away, charge out of their control range, and go after someone else. It's a funky one to pull off, but when you do, it feels really good. Lastly, we'll go over Death Frenzy. You get to use this firefight ploy whenever a Ravener is incapacitated. Before you remove him from the kill zone, inflict D3 damage on each enemy operative within its control range, again rolling separately for each, and if it just so happens that the model being removed is your Venomspitter, and his dorsal sac is distended, you get to do 2 D3 damage instead. This is a good firefight ploy to use when you're just trying to take some people with you as you swing on your way out.
Next, we're going to go over their special equipment. They have 4, just like all teams, but they can also use general and their universal rules. I really want to see someone take a grenade, just to see a Tyranid throw a grenade with a scythe.
There's no rule that says he can't. The first of which is Chromatospore Camouflage. Say that 3 times fast. When your Raveners are being shot at, if you can retain any cover saves at all, you get to retain 1 additional cover save. It's not cumulative with improved cover saves from Vantage terrain, but gives you a little extra survivability. You've also got the Acid Blood faction equipment, and for me it's pretty much always an auto take. Whenever the Raveners are fighting or retaliating, and an attack dice would inflict damage on it, you get to roll a d6. On a 5-up, inflict 1 damage on the enemy operative in that sequence. I don't have great luck with dice, so this doesn't go off often, but when it does, it's worth it, and it's a pretty fun piece of equipment to take with you. Very thematic. Speaking of equipment that is almost always an auto take, you've got Metamorphic Flesh. I don't know that I've ever played the team and not used this. So whenever a friendly Ravener operative is activated, regains up to D3 lost wounds. Again, very thematic for Tyranids, makes a lot of sense, keeps your guys alive a lot longer. The Ravener's 4th piece of unique equipment is Heightened Senses. Once per battle after rolling off to decide initiative, again once per battle, if you've got a Ravener underground and an enemy is within 5 inches of your tunnel, you get to re-roll your dice for initiative. This one seems like it should be super useful, and I guess it is, but I haven't had it pay off in dividends, so if you've got the extra equipment slot, bring it. Otherwise, if you've got something way more useful, go for it. This one is hit or miss for me. I hear a lot of people say it's great, but I haven't had a ton of luck with it. It's very situational, and when it does pay off, it pays off big time, so I'll leave that one up to you.
Raveners are one of those teams that feel exactly like how you want Tyranids in a skirmish game. terrifying, mobile, and deeply unfair in the best of ways, once the tunnels expands out. They're not the easiest team to pilot perfectly, but they're incredibly thematic in the best of ways.
Most definitely. I've played these games in several tournaments, and I don't know that I've won more than I've lost, but it definitely was a ton of fun playing murder bugs that pop up out of the ground. So if you like mind games, positioning, and making your opponent fear about every inch of the board that they take, this team's for you. Thanks for watching. If this information helped you and you decided to get in on the Tyranid fun, please feel free to let us know what helped you the most and hit the like button for more Kill Team content.
Also, if you want to comment and share your favorite story of the Ravener operatives or the biggest "it was total carnage" story, we'd love to see those. Hit subscribes for more Kill Team deep dives, and we'll see you next time when we cover the 5 things you need to beat these guys.
Remember, the hive mind calls, and it's hungry. Get to work. Always be assimilating more biomass. Take care.